Hey folks, so we're going to start looking at shaping our arms. So in that other video we showed them how to lay them out and cut them out.
Yep.
And so this pair of arms we've actually taken from the plank. Remember that in the book we've suggested that you could do it all from green wood, which is a great idea and gives you a bit more freedom, but then you have to let them dry for ages. So we've made a nice matching pair. Because we've ripped it down the centre, which you could do with a bandsaw or nice Japanese rip saw.
Yeah, definitely.
Do other people sell rip saws?
Yeah. Do they not just get called tenon saws?
Yeah, tenon saw.
Yeah.
The tenon saw would tend to have the kind of rib down the back though, which might get in the way for doing something like that.
It would.
Anyway, I'd use a Japanese one.
Yeah, if
Double-sided Japanese. What are they called? A Kutaba?
Kataba, yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
If you are good at sharpening saws, you can make any saw a rip saw. It's all to do with the pitch of the
Exactly.
teeth.
Well, we need to do a video on saws at some point. Anyway, rip them down and then you've got a matching pair and you've only had to cut through, cut around the profile once. So if we have them this way up, then we'll have a nice kind of matching pattern rather than if we use the outside of the plank. So I think that's what we'll do. So obviously that's the right hand, that's the left hand. And our next job is to just drill in, and that's easier really when they're nice and flat like this. We've come to the shop and we don't have a proper workbench here and we didn't bring a square, so we're just going to drill by eye. But if you wanted to be really accurate, whilst it's nice and flat, you could clamp it to a bench, use a square, and then it's a lot easier.
Yep.
And actually in the book it kind of describes marking this out with a compass, and that's probably quite a good way of doing it because then you'll have the centre marked for your hole. But for us right now, we're just going to poke through the template. Oh, did we cut around the template?
No, but we
it's only an
decided
estimate, isn't
we
it?
decided they were nice shapes, so we went with it.
Yeah. Right, there we go. And that one in there. So we just need to drill those through. Rob and I are going to help each other and hopefully we'll get them nice and square. These will eventually have a hole in the back to go onto the crest post, but we're not going to drill that until we've actually got the components put into the top of the seat, and then we can actually measure directly. So we'll get this one done and the other one we'll do when we're fitting it all together. Right, come on then, let's drill it. Yeah? You happy?
I am, yeah. We're pretty square.
Yeah, away a little bit. From you, not me. Yeah, that's it. Away a bit. Yeah. Nice drill bit, that is.
Yeah.
Great hole.
Yeah, good drills.
A little bit of tear out on the back. I'm not too fussed about that.
The beads there.
Yeah, exactly. And if you wanted to prevent that, the best way would be to clamp it really firmly onto a really nice flat bit of wood. Okay, so next one.
Should we show them the way where you just look for the lead screw coming through and come from the other side to avoid the blowout?
Yeah, why not? Yeah. Do it like that. So when I say stop, don't drill into my finger.
Okay.
Stop! Woohoo! It's quite hot.
Oh yeah.
So I was just rubbing my finger back and forth like that, just so I could feel when it's come through, and you can see it's just poked through. Probably more sensible to do that with a brace and bit, or having a go and then stopping drilling and just feeling, rather than doing it with it going through. But
yeah.
We've got a nice trusting relationship.
Skin heals.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So I'll just hold this again and we can drill back down in. Again, safety-wise, you're much better off using clamps than holding things away from you a bit. Yeah, that's it, to your right. Ta-da. Sweet. Nice, neat hole. And no tear out.
Mm-hmm.
I wish we'd done that on the first one.
Well, we have to give an example of how not to do it first, don't we?
Good teaching. Great. Okay, so now we've got our arm blanks. We can start shaping them a bit more three-dimensionally. As you will notice from the book, there's going to be some bodging at the back here, where the arm twists. Which way does it twist? I've got that the wrong way up. Let's do it with that. So if that's our right arm, then it's going to be tilted out slightly because we've got our arm post coming out at an angle, and then our crest post is kind of straight up. So we'll have to create some twist in the arm, and that's quite nice actually. I think it gives a bit of shape to the back here. The final bit though we'll do when we're actually fitting it, and there's a little bit of to and fro. You can skim off a little bit from the arm post and some off the back and basically get it to fit. So the first job is just giving a little bit of shape to the armrest.
Take some edges off and be careful not to take any thickness where we're going through at the tenon.
So we want to do a little bit of kind of doming on the top so that it's nice for your hand. Wood definitely splinters. This is elm, so it's quite an unforgiving wood for carving. So it wouldn't surprise me if I completely ruin this. Woohoo! It's quite a risk, really, but it might save a little bit of time with the draw knife. And maybe we can do a bit of both. We can just start shaping that around. The one bit that I was thinking is it's quite nice if this comes in here a little bit. Yeah. Is that what we did on the other one?
Definitely.
So, and then bringing this down. Got to be careful I don't follow through on that bit. Anyway, hopefully by now you know a little bit about shaping. If you're using an axe and you want to be super careful and safe, and if you don't have a shaving horse, then I guess an axe and a knife is probably your only option. So we can continue shaping this with the axe.
Yep.
But I think most of it really we want to do on the shaving horse. And
I think another option, if you're kitted up more in a more modern workshop,
spindle moulder.
Yeah, I was going to say spoke shaving device.
Ah, yeah.
There are ways around it.
Yes. Yeah, spoke shave is quite a lot finer than a draw knife, isn't it? So.
Yeah, an old wooden spoke shave will whip that off in no time.
Yeah? Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, well, I'll pass it over to you and we'll have a go with the draw knife and see where we go.
Okay.
Have we got a spoke shave with us?
Yes.
Yeah, so we can have a little look at that as well. Perfect.
Okay, so we've come over to the shave horse. I'm going to show you a couple of different ways to cut on here. I will start by showing you how to do it, how I do it with a spoke shave. This, if you've got one of the old wooden bodied spoke shaves, this is pretty much the same thing, it's just a new metal version of it. Okay, so being very conscious of grain direction, I'm just going to start cutting. If I feel any fibres lifting up, I will come from the other direction. I'm just going to leave. I'm not going to touch this last section till we've taken a few measurements from the crest post. So I'm just going to leave that last 3 inches there untouched for now. So the idea of what I'm doing here is we're going to get a nice large facet sweeping around on this side. I'm trying to get a nice domed handhold. It's a nice tactile part of the chair, and wherever I can see any saw marks, I'm just smoothing things off a bit. Be very conscious as you're coming around a corner like this that you're going to get a grain direction change. Okay, so you can see how I'm using my spoke shave in a forward direction. I'm struggling a bit with tennis elbow at the moment, so I'll hand over to Barn to show you how to do it with the draw knife.
So the spoke shave is great because you can use it in a pushing action, and the draw knife really doesn't work that well in the pushing direction. So to come back this way, just take your time. This elm is really tough. And hopefully from the book you've seen, but like I was saying earlier, I've just kind of drawn on the angle that we're going to end up with. But we need to be able to adjust that onto our crest post. There's plenty of thickness here. So that's at least 1 inch, and we'll probably go down to something like 5/8, maybe smaller. So there's plenty to work with, but I may as well just take some of that coming off the back. It's incredible grain on this elm. I think this curve works quite nicely. Kind of makes the arm feel slightly more welcoming on the seat. So, and then the hard work is all this coming across the grain here. So I'm going to aim for this kind of dome shape. That spoke shave that Robin was using has left an incredible finish. Much smoother than the draw knife. That said, I'm certainly not opposed to leaving the draw knife finish. So anyway, hopefully you can see that I'm getting there. Still quite a lot of work to do on the profile shape. And I think underneath I'd be tempted to just leave it, but maybe that's just because I'm lazy. I would definitely take a chamfer, and I can see the grain there is going to be quite tricky. I might even be tempted to do that with a knife. But I'll maybe start coming around. I'm just coming square here. This is a bit you've got to be super careful with. So I can try and pull my elbows into my body and kind of slowly draw back with my body. And can you see that I'm using a kind of slicing action? Just give me ever so slightly more control. Maybe would use the draw knife in a pushing action coming down this way. Just be very careful when you're suddenly doing something different to what you're used to. You need to consider what would happen if you slipped or followed through. So I've made a little bit of a mess there. Come back this other way. That's pretty good. Don't want to keep on coming back and forth here because you'll end up with no arm left. There we go. So there's a fair amount of work working your way around the profile, and you need to definitely contemplate keeping it nice and round around the outside here. I think it probably is sensible to use a compass to draw. So the template's really handy for getting the shape of the arm, but to have a nice neat circle, the compass is always going to be better. Okay, so I think I want to leave most of my thickness here, but I want to chase a facet down, and I'll maybe have a slight bevel coming in at this corner. I think this is the tricky bit on this design. It's coming in. And this is allowing the nice dome shape to come around the handle and meet at a shoulder there. Okay, so that's, to my mind, that's the tricky bit there. Once you've got that established, you can have a slightly steeper chamfer. We'll continue that all the way along the arm, but it just diminishes. And then I'm going to try and get this to swoop in there. It's a beautiful thing, the draw knife and shaving horse, for trying to get surfaces to meet, creating lines with those bevels. I wouldn't overthink it. To my mind, what you're aiming for is something that's going to be comfortable to put your hand on. Okay, so you don't want any sharp edges anywhere. Nice dome shape on the top. Have a bit of a swoop round. This swoop is going to help us get the angle that we need to make to fit the crest post tenon. So it's pretty much there. A little bit more work around the profile, and we can leave the rest till the actual fitting. What I would say is a draw knife tends to have one bevel or a bevel on one side, and if you put the bevel down, it works slightly better on a concave cut. So this concave swoop here, certainly easier. And actually, if you want to make the investment in a nice spoke shave, certainly help you, particularly with little rough bits of grain like we've got there, to smooth it out. So make one arm, get it nice, and then try and get the other one to match. I think they look better if they're a matching pair. And it's as simple as that. Little elm arm. Okay, so I thought it just worth showing you little finishing touches with the knife that would be, I think, really quite tricky to do with the draw knife. I think at the end of the day, an arm just wants to be comfortable, so as long as there aren't any rough edges that wouldn't feel nice on your hand, I think you're good to go. And my preference for myself would be to not use sandpaper, and obviously you guys can just go free. That's the whole point of this chair, is that we're trying not to be, we're trying to open it up, I suppose, to people rather than telling them this is exactly what you should be doing. Really showing you that the basics, like with many of these things, just like with spoon carving, are actually really easy. You just need a few tips, which is why we're so lucky to have Robin come along with his tips. And you can make a chair really easily, and then it's just a lifetime of work to perfect it. Yeah, so just make sure you're being careful when you're using a knife. It's quite good for getting into these nooks and crannies. I really like the reinforced grip for control and thumb push. And with these grain changes, it is slightly easier to kind of flip it around than it is on the draw knife. Again, that's another benefit of the spoke shave, is that you don't have to flip the bit of wood around, because you can just use the tool in the opposite direction. But certainly we don't want any of these square edges. So we can at least round these off, because your hand will find your way all around a chair arm when you're sat on it. And you don't want little fingers having to rub across square edges or sharp edges. It's worth putting the effort. And I guess we'll leave it reasonably flat on the bottom for when we're fitting it.